up, Twitch, and welcome to the Race Flames Radio Show. Holy moly, holy moly, holy moly, holy moly. This is why I love Mondays. Look at the chat. Painting Polish in the house. Lemon Marcus in the house. Lemon Marcus is ready to hype it up already. Hype it up. Lemon Marcus, you're getting me excited. Fantastic. You're ready for another show. You're ready for a good show. It's Monday, baby. J-Rob in the house as well. Grand Bay Nails. Shout out to Grand Bay Nails. Painting Polish. Lemon Marcus in the house. Welcome in. Welcome in. If you're just joining us, the show is about passion. Whether you're a business owner, a painter, a singer, maybe you're a producer like my friend who's about to be on in a few minutes. Oh, look at this. The organization Maven is in the house, my friend. Mwah, I miss you. I miss you. I miss you, my friend. Organization Maven. If you want to get your house organized, the way, just go on my YouTube channel, you'll see how she organized the studio. The studio looks wonderful. We've kind of made a little bit of a mess over there in that Nintendo area because my son was over, but everything is organized and labeled thanks to the organization Maven. So make sure you get a hold of her. Crazy weekend. Welcome in, everybody. Crazy weekend. This is, if you don't know, this is my birthday week. So we're already celebrating. The team's already celebrating. Wednesday is actually my birthday. It's not today. It's not tomorrow. It's Wednesday. Saturday we were at Disneyland, 12-hour marathon, Disneyland. Woo, crazy, a lot of fun. You know, the whole team celebrating. When I say team, you know what I mean. My family, my kids, and my wife. That's my team. That's who we celebrated with on Saturday at Disneyland. And then yesterday, a little barbecue. Thank you so much, Organization Maven. Yesterday, broke out my dad's. There's a propane barbecue. You guys know I don't cook on propane. I cook on pit barrels. I cook on open flames, smoking barrels. Rarely cook on propane. So this was an interesting, actually pretty exciting for me because I don't know anything about propane. So I broke out my dad's, like, there was just like big old tarp on it, like rusty old tarp. Like, had to like rip it off because, like, you know, when your skin gets stuck and you get a cut and then like your skin gets stuck to your clothes, it was like that. The cover was like stuck on the thing. I had to like rip it off, and then this beautiful stainless steel barbecue comes out. Get the old stainless steel spray and shine it all up, clean off the grill. And we were testing burgers because this coming Saturday we're going to celebrate O's birthday as well, or O's birthday's in a couple weeks, June 10th, and we're going to celebrate her birthday this Saturday. She wants burgers, so we had to test the burgers to make sure they're good. And here's the burger. Are you ready for this, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to give you Ray's Flav's choice of burgers when you go to the store. You're going to go to Stater Brothers. You're not going to find it. You're going to go to Albertsons. You're not going to find it. Maybe Lucky's back in the day. If you remember that store, you're not going to find it. The only place you're going to find these burgers that I recommend, you're going to go crazy. This is at Amazon. Amazon Prime burgers are the best freaking burgers. You freaking, they have a nice bit of fat on them. You put them on, they sizzle up. Flames are flying everywhere. Of course, they shrink down quite a bit, but there's so much juicy juice to them. They're fantastic. Great burgers. Amazon burgers. Highly recommend. Amazon Organization Maven celebrating turning 25 again. Yes, 25. Almost twice, my friend, believe it or not, almost twice. In 1 year, we will be celebrating 25 twice, believe it or not. We will be doing that. It's crazy. Out of control. Looking forward through the week, we got this Thursday, KYSM Fem Studio. That's KYSM. Hold on. Let me slow it down a bit. KYSFM Studio. They basically are filmmakers. They make films, like featured films. They do their own films. They will be on the show on Thursday explaining what they do. We're going to do a lot of stuff with them. We're going to partner with them, possibly working on a video shoot of. They might be doing some stuff with Race Waves. That's all I got. That's all I can say for now. A lot of secret stuff coming up. And then a secret recording with Sam Duran as well. That will not be live. That'll be a secret recording with DJ Sam Duran. You know how he does it. He doesn't do anything live. It's going to be a top secret recording, a conversation with me and DJ Sam Duran. Let me get a little hydrate. Hold on one second. Holy moly, that's beautiful. Crazy long day. I just talk about eating. Like, I ate breakfast, had a wonderful breakfast thanks to my wife. Didn't eat until like 10 minutes ago because my phone all day was ringing off the fantastic. I mean, business going crazy, phones going crazy, visitors at the store, at the Young Nail store. Awesome. A lot of fun times. And then at the 2:00 hour, we did a 3-hour social media stream. First time chatter, the Real Tight Spot. What is up, my man? The Real Tight Spot. I think that's the studio that I've been talking to. Not positive, but hopefully that's them. The Real Tight Spot. What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? Nope. Okay, just the Real Tight Spot. Fantastic. Hope you're in a good spot, my friend. You are in a good spot. You're here at the Raise Flav Show. If you're just joining us, the show is about passion. We're looking at what your passion is and then why it is you do what you do. Welcome in the Real Tight Spot. Painting Polish in the house. My boo ball. If Painting Polish ain't here, I'm gonna stop the show. Thank God Painting Polish is here, as always. What was he just talking about? Yeah, so I didn't get to eat till right now, like 10 minutes ago. Crazy. Had the brats, had the leftover brats, had the leftover barbecue from Gordo's, chomped that down, oxtail, ribs, macaroni and cheese, and brats. Fantastic. Great day. I know evil robot Chris. He knows Chris. So, right, this might be a good time. Let you guys know who our guest is. You guys remember a couple weeks ago on Spotify, we launched the Shelby Nite podcast on Spotify. She was also here. We recorded it live on Twitch. Amazing interview. Amazing person. An amazing artist. This is what I was looking for. This is what I'm always looking for, is these unique artists that have passion. They're doing things different. They think outside of the box. They don't care how famous they're just doing it. Like me, just doing it. Just, who cares? Just do it. I love that. It inspires me, and she inspired me. And during the interview, she starts talking about the producer, and the producer, his name is Christopher Mariscal, ladies and gentlemen. And Christopher Mariscal will be joining us in just a few seconds here, but we're going to be taking a deep dive into that Shelby Nite album called California Dope Fiend. It's going to be awesome. We got Shelby's perspective. We talked deep about that album, what she was thinking when she was writing that album, and I want to get Christopher's perspective on that. He's a producer. Producers always make things better. So I want to get his perspective on that, and it's going to be awesome. Let's see here. I want to got some notes here. Yeah, that's it. So, boom, 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 boom. Hold on a second. Just want to make sure to forget it. Perfect. Cool. That's it. So just want to make sure that you are ready for this. Hang on tight. And please help me welcome Mr. Christopher Mariscal to the show, ladies and gentlemen. His own.
Oh, what's
He's
up?
even got his own
How's
clapping.
it going?
What's up, my man?
Oh, man. Okay. So we were talking really quickly before we got on.
Please.
I'm going to get this over quick. I used to work on a Twitch stream, and I haven't been on Twitch in like 4 years.
No
and
way.
So I haven't seen a hype train in 4 years. I haven't seen people hit that prime sub in 4 years. And they're going to want to hit that prime sub because we're going to listen to some tunes, and they don't want to be getting an ad in the middle of it, miss out on what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be fast paced. There's going to be a lot to cover. We're not even going to have time to get to Santa Maria style barbecue, which is what I heard in that.
That might be the next show.
Another day.
Yeah, second show. Exactly. You guys heard it. I couldn't explain it better. Hit that prime sub. Don't pay for it. Get the prime sub. It's a free sub. We need subs. Let's get it done. Let's have some community here. We love our community. Love having you guys here. And thank you so much, Chris, for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Ray. Thanks in the chat. Paint and Polish, Real Tight Spot. You guys are great.
Absolutely. And you said that you worked on a Twitch show before. So if anything breaks, it's your responsibility to fix it. I have no idea about this stuff.
Sounds fair.
From your side, from over there. You got to do that.
Oh, well, shit'll buff out.
Nice.
Oh, I should have asked. Can I swear? Can I not swear? I'm going to avoid swearing.
If you can avoid it, it's a family show. Try to get a bigger market. Gotcha. I'm hoping that the 5-year-olds will tell their moms about the show, and then we'll be good.
Wonderful. More moms, more better.
Yes, more moms, more better. Always more better moms. Always better more moms. Mom more better. Everything better with moms. 100%. Crazy. So I don't want to. So Chris, I'm gonna play some of the music. You're not gonna hear it, but you already know what it sounds like. It's just like a radio show. They're gonna hear it, and then we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give them a little remembrance. I'm gonna remind them of what Shelby sounds like by playing the first song, which is called Galaxies. So we're going to listen to that right now. Shelby Nite Galaxies on the Raise Flays Radio Show. Only galaxies with those eyes. Only galaxies, no goodbyes with those eyes. With those eyes, ladies and gentlemen. And Chris, I know you remember the little lick that. It sounded just like that. You remember that one? It was awesome. It was awesome. Crazy. So I'm super excited. I haven't had very many producers on the show. No Limit Kid was here. He's a producer. I had a couple other guys, but you are like a hardcore producer. You produced this song, but what was crazy when I was listening to it, well, usually the producer is the guy that does the movements of the buttons and stuff, but right. She starts to tell me as the story goes along that you actually play a lot of pretty much all the instruments on the tracks. Is that true?
Yeah, if it's not songwriting or singing, then I did it.
That's awesome.
Not to toot my own horn, but toot big time, if you know what I'm saying.
There you go. If a man has like 6 or 7 guitars behind him, he's a musician. Just a clue, guys. Just a clue.
And those are just the ones you can see too.
Those are the ones on camera.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I had a question for her, and I want to ask you this. I couldn't wait to ask you this question. Do you know who John Frusciante is?
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. that simple ding, 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 just to hear that nice ting, that ting. I don't know if you only musicians know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep, I have one guitar specifically geared towards that ting, like rare pickups and everything.
Yes.
This is a 2000, I think it's a 2003 Gibson Les Paul Junior Light, kind of a rare thing.
Oh my gosh.
Weird inline, but it has these pickups called P100 pickups.
P100s.
Stacked P90s.
Yeah.
And so P90 pickups are kind of the old school copper foil wound pickups that have this really scoopy compressed sound. So when you hear like later era Green Day stuff, those are P90 pickups. And the P100 gets rid of some of the noise and the hum by adding a second coil that's inversed in the phase. And it just kind of makes it a little bit thicker and brighter. And so especially like on the intro, just those 3 chords for the intro to Galaxies, that's that guitar's sound.
Nice.
The idea of kind of the chimey background sound on Antifreeze, we're going to get to that a little bit later.
Yes, don't let me forget that. That's my favorite.
That's my favorite too. That's what got me into the project, was Antifreeze.
Really? Holy, that one sold you?
Yeah, it did. So I watched the last interview with Shelby. She had mentioned that she previously worked with Griffin Brashears, who's a fantastic producer. He does amazing things.
Yeah.
And this was kind of a really quick get in, get out, do it thing. And I remember hearing them and thinking, okay, I can do this, and wanted to tie those 3 songs together as well as get some other stuff in there. But Antifreeze just had, for lack of a better term, it's beautiful. It's one of those songs that is beautiful, and it hits you in a way that forces you to confront that, and you don't have a choice but to accept it. And I know that that's kind of an ethereal concept, but that kind of thing where if you can last to the end, you're going to hear a story and it's going to touch you. And so it was my job to frame that and make it hit hard. And so there's a bunch of tricks in that. I threw tons of tricks, tons of cheap maneuvers and stuff like that in there, everything I could to frame it as this is a beautiful song. It's supposed to be so beautiful that it honestly makes you cry. And so if that happens, then
it did. I told her on the show, I was like, dude, first time I heard this, I was driving the car. I got to stop. I was crying. It was crazy. Let's listen to it now without too much crying. Let's listen to Antifreeze by Shelby Nite, ladies and gentlemen. On the Raised Flames Radio Show. right, not too much of that. If I keep hearing that, I'm gonna be in tears over here, ladies and gentlemen. Holy moly, that's enough of that, dude. But it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful story, a sad story, and then you use the words like I had to use cheap tricks. But the thing is, when you saw that piece, you knew what it had to be. You knew what it was immediately, I think, and then you knew what it had to be, and you have to use certain tricks that the producers use to frame it. Use the right word to frame it so that it becomes that, like, it's an emotion that comes out of that sound and the story all hitting at once, right?
1,000%, 1,000%. The whole theme of everything that ties it all together is it's kind of a story of addiction, but at the same time, it's telling the stories of what happens to you throughout that process. You don't stop living a life just because addiction is everything. You're still a person. You still have relationships. You still interact with people. You still have, it's just have thoughts and feelings and complexities and things like that. And so a lot of that is to sound like I tried to create the sound of sad addiction, for lack of a better term.
Wow, excellent.
And when it comes to things like when I say cheap tricks, it's a common thing. It's when you hear a song and you hear something that's supposed to be there from a producer's perspective, don't overthink it. Just put it in there. The whole keep it simple stupid. If there's something that can go there and it's simple, then just do it. One of the things I did that just ended up being an across the board simple thing is to keep sonic space open. Instead of playing 3-note chords on the keyboard, anytime there was a keyboard chord, it was just what they call a dyad. So what that means is like a full chord would be, whereas just the dyad would be, or so 2 notes instead of 3 to try to accomplish the same thing.
Is it kind of like just the root of that chord, or am I using the right term?
It can be any of the 3 notes in the chord used any way that you want. And depending on where you are in the song, you use the different inversion of that dyad for, like, to kind of, I'm throwing big things out there.
Yeah,
but it comes down to what is part of the landscape of a song, what's going to be the background, what are you always feeling, what are you always hearing, and then what are the things that cut through it, and what are the things that make you stop and pay attention, and what are the things that they come up and you don't realize they were there. The really hard thing for me with this album is that I've never done any kind of music like this. I've never done electronic music. I don't know much. I mean, I've listened to hip hop and stuff. I don't have anything against it. I just never produced it. It's not in my wheelhouse.
Well, I'm asking what you usually do, but we'll get to that.
I do a little bit of everything. And so that's kind of it. The reason that I looked at this was like, all right, it's a challenge. And so I tried looking at the stuff that I knew that was closest adjacent to it. And the sound that I came up with closest was early Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine. Some of those songs like Can't Stay Away From You, Here We Are. The songs are beautiful. They're complex. Everyone in the Miami Sound Machine was an accomplished like jazz theory
salsero, jazz, salsa, the whole thing.
And so the structures and the chord progressions they do were simple, but of complex stuff. It's kind of the music equivalent of, instead of having a drum set with a bunch of different pieces with 50,000 different pieces, you've only got a really basic 4-piece drum set, but they're massive drums and they get a lot of sound, and you just kind of go for the big with that.
You get that Ringo Starr thing going on.
Exactly. I have a hard time playing more than 4 drums.
Yeah, it's too much. Crazy. So what do you see as a producer coming into this project? Is it like, I'm imagining, I always imagine like you guys see like these puzzle pieces everywhere, like these pieces of ideas, and you like bring them together. Is that kind of how things happen? Is that the process?
Yeah. The way that we started was, I believe we started with Galaxies to kind of get the basis for what we wanted the sound to be. The way that Shelby writes is she'll download a loop of something, and then she'll write to that loop. And so it has this kind of round feeling, which is, it's very much like a jazz song or like first wave funk kind of stuff. So, you know, the James Brown early
Right.
early funkadelic and stuff like that
Yeah,
too.
I put her on
So
like
Ohio players.
R&B, jazz type of, you know, that's the where I kind of fit her in somehow.
And so, yeah, the whole complexity of that and trying to create that sound first. So we came up with a basic track of just guitar, bass, and drums. I wanted it to always feel like, even though there was a lot of electronic sounds, that she had a real band behind her. It had to sound like a rock and roll band.
I asked her, who this band? That's the first thing I was like, who's this band? They're tight. Like, they're tight together. And then it's you. It's one person. Right. That's what freaked me out.
So, yeah, it always has to be a band. And then everything else was kind of filling the space around it. So I got that basic sound. She would send me a loop and a recording of her singing over the loop, just a, you know, quick video with her cell phone. And I would try to piece together stuff that would fit this sound and kind of be this cohesive thing. Not everything was planned out from start to finish. And then at the end, it was kind of like, well, this kind of looks like this story. Let's tell the story together from a musical perspective, not lyrically.
Well, she was telling me like she would play something for you and you could like immediately play it with your guitar or immediately play with the bass. Like you could recreate it like on the spot. Like, that's crazy.
I think that's something every musician should be able to do. You know, pick out a note or something. It doesn't mean you have to play it perfectly the first time or even well the first time, but you should be able to pick out some stuff here and there and kind of follow things along.
That's amazing, dude. So it is kind of like a puzzle piece that you're putting together, because these artists, I mean, we'll take example of the earlier example. We're talking about the Chili Peppers. Chili Peppers, they're an amazing band. They're Flea, amazing bass player. Anthony Kiedis, amazing singer. They've always got some great guitar player, whether it's John Frusciante or Dave Navarro, and they've got Chad Smith as a drummer. They've got it all. They've got all the pieces. But for some reason, and you could tell me why, all these bands need like a producer, like a Rick Rubin, for example, on the Under the Bridge album. They needed a producer. It takes and Aerosmith the same way when they met Rick Rubin. Shelby Nite is a new example of the producer taking this painting, if you will, and then making it hearable, viewable, seeable. I don't know what the word is, but you guys do something.
Yeah. So something that kind of occurred to me when you were describing it, the best way I can describe this, kind of like piecing together a puzzle. Shelby gives me all the little pictures of the situation and the song that she's written. And it's my job to piece those little pictures together into like the big picture of her face, like you see walking through the mall. So they're all like individual stuff. And if you look at the individual pictures, they're all individual events. But you stand back and it's this, you know, picture of the person. The picture of the person you're supposed to see is sadness, but hopefulness, the experience of despair, but coming back out of it, ways to make that feel safe, but also ways to keep it perpetuating. There's a lot that comes into that. As far as the whole thing with needing a producer, for anyone out there that hears this, that is in any kind of, I was going to say entertainment, but really it's business. Understand what you do and understand what you don't. And one of the things I mean by that is talent does not mean success. Writing a good song doesn't mean that people are going to hear it. And so what that means is put yourself in a position to do well with people. Try to put your music at, like, the big thing about recorded music that people just do not understand today, a lot of young musicians don't understand it, is it's not a revenue stream. It just isn't. These days, the revenue in music, for the most part, there are some people that make a living off of streaming or they do contract work and stuff like that. But realistically, if you're gonna make money in music, these days it's in gigging. And so what that means is that your record, and what that means is that your record is your advertisement. That's what and so it's your job when you create a record to create something that connects with the listener. It's got to get with them right away, because people, I don't remember the statistic, it's one of those things you always hear, but people only remember something like 30% of what you tell them, but they'll remember 90% of how you made them feel. And so
Yes.
if you can invoke an emotion, if you can get, we talked about that guitar sound earlier, and I'll use Under the Bridge as the example. You hear right from the beginning that it's this super juicy sound, but at the same time, it's these chords that are in a major key, but they're still solemn. And then the way that it shifts in the modulation at the very end is it gives you this feeling of, you're being pensive and you're reconsidering these things. A lot of the basics that I don't really understand that well of music theory, but the way that you can invoke feelings and the way that you can, push those feelings through. It's very much like when you were in school and you hear Peter and the Wolf. There's no lyrics to that whole piece, but you understand what the wolf is. You understand that Peter's this boy that runs through the woods. You understand the duck is, the goofy kind of waddly thing, and you can tell all those stories with music. So
100%.
that's kind of what, yeah. So that's what I tried to do, was create these in the way that a filmmaker will create a visual with the actors that they have. It's my job to create that visual in someone's ears. And something that I learned way too late in life, and this is kind of led me to produce this one differently, is that people don't think the same way. People think differently. I remember getting frustrated one day and saying I was seeing a therapist at the time, saying it's like thought to some people is just a single voice in a black void. And the therapist said, that is thought to some people. What is thought to you? And I said, oh, it's like in Dr. Strangelove, where we're all sitting around the table and there's like the screen and you can pull stuff up from memory, and there's sound, and you argue with each other about what you're gonna have for dinner tonight. And then she goes, are all these voices yours? And I go, yeah.
She was a little worried.
Down. Yeah, but that's kind of the analogy for it.
Well, that's how I think of it, like a film, right? Yeah. I always think about film, like how if you played a film, let's take any film, like Running Man, any film you play, The Terminator, you play any film without the music is not a true film. The film, the story needs a soundtrack, and that soundtrack is exactly what you were just saying, to your point, a motion puller, a thing that sets the mood, a thing that pushes the audience in a certain direction. And film is so amazing at that. It's so amazing at pulling your emotions in different directions. And a lot of that has to do with sound.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of the other examples I like to give in that, just to give kind of a feel for how you can manipulate those things. Superman. People know that song. Da, 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 da. They know that sound, and it occurs 30 times throughout the movie, but it happens faster, it happens slower, and there's that sound of like, you think Superman's down and out, then he's about to make the comeback, and it's the same freaking notes, but it's just the way they do it slowly. The ba ba da ba 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 ba. And so it comes down to, this is my theory of how you would do it with not knowing. Building a beat in hip hop. You're kind of stacking layers of things. It's like playing drums. You have your basic beat, and then you add your spicy things in between, and you try to create a little hook and stuff like that. So I just viewed it as kind of piecing together this big drum part, but some of the aspects were not drums. They had melody. For example, they're in every song, but it really kind of became a thing when we were recording Galaxies at first. There's this kind of burst sound that to me sounds like the Game Genie sound, like on an old NES when you would pick the letters for the code that you were going to put in, so you'd have infinite lives in Mario.
Oh yeah.
It has that kind of Ding. That sparkle sound, and something that I always think drummers do too much of is use too many crash cymbals. They accent too many things with a crash. They want to start every measure with a crash. They want to end every
They want to be all
fill
loud.
with a crash. It's just right. And so instead of overdoing the crashes, I overdid the crashes but made them that burst sound. And so you had all these things, but you have a melodic function. And that's kind of where the snowball really started rolling downhill and getting bigger of like, oh, okay, so I can just kind of piece these things along as they go and add things over the top. And then it went from being a project that sonically was like, Miami Sound Machine stuff that I mentioned, to where once I got into recording it, especially looking at keyboard parts, it became all about doing stuff like the Cars. That's where I got really into it. Is I was doing a big deep dive on Greg Hawkes at the time. Super underrated keyboard player, even though he's considered one of the greatest of all time. You can't underestimate Greg Hawkes. He's just amazing.
Do you think
those sounds?
Do you think the Liquor Store song is that a good example of that? It has that kind of B Hammond organ. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, it does. I didn't put any Hammond organ in it. I don't think I did. And that Hammond organ sound is a modified guitar going through an organ like a Leslie speaker cabinet.
Oh, crazy!
A simulated Leslie speaker cabinet.
Okay, yeah. Let's play that for them, and so they know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Let's see here.
When it comes to love, things were looking bleak. Yes, I'm a lady, but I'm still a freak. And you better hit me with that good technique. When it comes to you, I'll take you anywhere. Grocery shopping with you, I don't care. Or stay in bed, I know you like it there. Phones on mute so they don't interfere.
It's incredible to me that now that you say that it is not a organ, it is actually a guitar that's making that sound. That's crazy.
Well, I'll be candid. I don't mean to spoil anything about the show, just because I can't hear the music. I think it's also possible that you guys might be hearing some of the versions that Griffin did, which are fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Not to knock them.
So there's organ in there.
Yeah, the original ones that Griffin did, I believe they have a 2023 release date if you look it up on Spotify or on iTunes. And so if it was Liquor Store that started with a beat,
it's
the one that Griffin did.
It's just organs at the beginning. Vocals? Just organs, and then it goes into vocals, and then that beat comes in like on the third bar, like 3 bars later. Just straight like crazy. It's freaking. I wish you could hear it. I don't know if you did it.
That's more like the Easter egg of like, hey, there's 2 versions of the song you can listen to, go contrast and compare, and then get them stuck in your head, and then just kind of keep listening to them again.
There you go. Listen to Shelby Nite on Spotify right now. You can check that out. Shelby Nite, Nite on Spotify. Man, that's incredible. But let's get into some of your stuff, man. Let's talk about where did you grow up? Did you grow up there, up north?
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Santa Maria.
Santa Maria barbecue.
3 hours. Yeah, exactly. It's about 2.5, 3 hours north the coast on the 101 from LA. Um, I live in Grover Beach now, which is about another 20 miles up north from there. It's adjacent to Pismo Beach.
Oh wow.
Um, and I've pretty much lived here my whole life. I've seen other places and been other places and done stuff, but uh, my parents are from Los Angeles, and so younger, being a musician and entertainer and stuff, you want to go to Los Angeles. It seems like this dream mecca of everything all at once that you
Hollywood,
want at
baby.
any given time. Exactly. And then, you experience some of it, and I don't like music any less. I don't like gigging any less, but I would rather like commute to LA for a gig than have to live in it and do it every day. Like I've come to the conclusion that I'm definitely a country mouse, and I didn't think that would be the case long ago, but that is definitely me.
That makes total sense. Let's so you are let's listen to that. What you the minute you said country, I want to hear Caroline from freaking Jolin Station. Let's listen to that.
All right.
Let's take the back roads back to Caroline. Let's keep that rental car one more day. Let's see what's happening at the edge of town before we throw our lives away. So turn it on one more time, turn it on. I don't see no reason for you to keep hanging on. There's an illness in this town. Going up only makes you come down. I wouldn't tell you this now if it wasn't true.
I love this. This is like a road band. This reminds me of like a road band, a band you want to be on the road with. It's got that country twang to it. So you got that country in you, huh?
Cologne Station Band is a road band. Absolutely. I did not have as much of that country in me until I played with them. When you play with a gentleman named Brad Coates,
Brad
it is
Coates come on the show.
infectious.
What does Brad Coates
Got
do?
to come on the show. He is the singer songwriter of Cologne Station Band. He builds guitars for National Resophonic. He makes those beautiful metal body guitars with the resonator cones.
He's got that story.
Two men in the world. Yep, he's one of two men in the world that make those metal body guitars.
What the heck? That's crazy, dude. There it is. Brad Coates, come on the show, please. Fantastic. Dude, and the drummer. I like the drummer. Freaking pretty who plays drum in that band?
So the dirty secret to that album is that we originally planned to do it really basic. So we tracked it with I was playing drums. We had a bass player at the time, Brad, who I mentioned, and Paul, our other lead guitar player, who if you get a chance to see Paul Scott Hanna do anything, he's brilliant.
Paul Scott Hanna? I'm gonna look up these guys.
He also plays with a band called Nada Rasta.
Nice.
Paul's a brilliant musician. Something that Paul and I have in common is we've both been in motorcycle crashes.
Oh, Jesus.
And Paul has, so Paul, it's a,
should we talk about the motorcycle in a little bit here? Is it a crazy story?
A little bit. Not really. But the big thing I wanted to say about that is that Paul ended up suffering some nerve damage in his hand. It's not easy to do that. And I'm kind of dealing with some of that right now after another car crash. But Paul doesn't really have a choice but to play beautifully and to play tastefully. And he does so every single time. He never doesn't deliver. And so
what do you mean he has no choice? Does it hurt if he doesn't or something? Like he can only use certain fingers that make it like perfect chords or something?
Like you physically can't shred at that point. You can't go off on these crazy tangents and do a jazz run and stuff like that. So you have to be economic and tasteful with what you play. And so he always knows when to play the right thing. It's kind of the case of, that Steve Vai is a better guitar player than Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
But I can sing you at least 10 Mike Campbell solos right now. I could just sing them right off the top of my head. I couldn't sing you a single Steve Vai one except the one that was in that movie that I've seen.
No, you just be like,
exactly.
It'll never end.
That goes back to the
goes
whole
into space.
Simple, stupid. So I'm getting away.
He's got this simple. You're saying he has like this simple beauty to the way he plays. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Always. And he's a great slide player too. That's very complex. So we played the four of us in the room together, and then we were going to do overdubs and things like that. And it just became this long, forever process. At the time in the band, I was playing drums, and I would also play guitar during like an acoustic set, and we'd swap back and forth. And so initially on the album, I was playing drums and some guitar. And I mentioned that Hole in the Station Band is a road band. They are also a guitar band. If you like guitars, they are that band.
Are those your little riffs in there? That the lead riffs on that song on Caroline?
That's me and Paul. So there's two channels of lap steel slide guitar.
Wow.
One of these dealies.
What the heck? Oh, those are the little dillies you play with your on your lap with the bottleneck or something.
Exactly. With the bar and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he had recorded part of it, and then it was like, well, you take a swing at it. And so I did. And then we liked both of them. And so instead of having one lead track, because it never happens this way, you'll hear heavy metal bands or even country bands do like the twin lead guitar thing.
Yeah.
And they'll harmonize, or they'll do the battles and
Leonard
stuff like
Skinner.
that. This wasn't recorded that way, and it wasn't planned that way, but I tried to mix it that way so that the two are playing off each other. And the image that I tried to come up with was like two UFOs in like a 50s style sci-fi movie, like fighting over how much they love you. That's like a really bad description,
dude.
But it's kind of what I feel fits. And that song was written by a gentleman named Micah Panzich, who is down in Long Beach. If you guys have a chance to see him, he's super awesome. I'm going to give him a
Michael
quick
Panzich,
plug.
you're local. Come to my show.
He does this one song that we would always play on road trips, and so I hope everyone learns it. It goes, I got high on the 5, on the 405, and the 605, and the 91, and the 22. That old highway patrol's got it in for you. So there you go. Check out Micah Panzich.
Sorry about that, parents, but he got high on all them freeways out here. You're in in SoCal if you mention any of those freeways and getting high at the same time.
Exactly. And the highway patrol is rightly after you if you do it. We want to make sure we're setting that good example.
That's right, kids. You'll be in trouble if you do that. Those smoking tools. Crazy, dude. So it's funny. I'm like, I like that drummer, and it's you.
And so I'm gonna ramble about those drums for a little bit because I'm super proud of how they came out on the whole album. Recording drums was a different art in the 60s and in the early 70s. And it changed over time as you got more channels to record with and more microphones and then stronger compressors, and you could do all these crazy things. And now the sound of a recorded drum set is super processed, and it doesn't sound like a drum set in the room. And I used a very simple method that is very old and very tried and true. It's known as the Glenn Johns method. Where you record an entire drum set with only 3 microphones. The classic Who albums were done that way. Every Led Zeppelin album was done that way.
That Led Zeppelin song that's in the stairwell that they always talk about? Mm-hmm. Wow, Crazy. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so those drums are also like...
You know what Led Zeppelin song I'm talking about? It sounds just like it.
When the Levee Breaks.
When the Levee Breaks. I'm so yeah, that one.
Yep.
Dude, that's sick. The bass drum on that. Oh my God, that's just crazy.
So that sound is what we were going for part of it. The sound of that album to me is two older album sounds coming together. There's Easter eggs all over it from stuff that we love.
I love that.
But really, the sound of the album is two things. It's Led Zeppelin 3 coming together with the Byrds' Sweetheart of the Rodeo.
Wow.
If you guys aren't into either of those two albums, get them in your rotation right away. Led Zeppelin 3 is a masterpiece.
I got them on vinyl right next to me.
Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Exactly. You can't not. And Sweetheart of the Rodeo is this weird experimental album. It was supposed to be this time travel through all the history of rock and roll. But Graham Parsons had just joined the band. He kind of conned them into making it just a country record.
Wow.
And the Byrds were not a country band, but they ended up making this beautifully brilliant country record.
Oh, it's talked about generations, that album. Yeah, hugely.
They just did I want to say it was like the 50th anniversary. Or it might have even been the 60th anniversary at this point. And they had a reunion concert with Roger McGuinn, Chris Hillman, the bass player.
Wow.
And for those of you who don't know this name out there, best get to your Google machine, Marty Stewart. Marty Stewart he's just a brilliant man. He's one of the greatest mandolin players to ever walk the earth. He's an amazingly brilliant virtuoso guitar player. He's been a charting country singer for years. He's a quirky personality and a funny look, but every single thing he does is excellent. It's kind of like, we've lived with the Foo Fighters for so long. You might not keep up with the albums when they come out, but you know that when you finally get to it, that's going to be good because they've just, built that consistent goodwill with their fans of knowing that they're going to put out quality material because they care about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't think I'm out of line here saying that. And at that time, in the late 70s there, as things were changing, a lot of the bands, once they heard that album, started going towards that country feel. And I'm talking about bands like the Rolling Stones. I'm talking about even Eric Clapton. And then you start getting later on, you find bands like Tom Petty and the Wallflowers coming in, stuff like that. But it starts to go in that direction at that time. And it could have been because of the Byrds.
Yeah, something that there's this phase that a lot of musicians go through, where rock musicians anyway, where they hate the term rock and roll. It sounds like this antiquated, dated sound. It means that it's this old thing that old people like, and so they like rock music. It's just rock. There's no blah, blah, blah. And it's a stupid nomenclature thing. But really, you need rock and roll. It's dancing music. No matter what signature it's in, it has to swing to some degree. Even a 4/4 beat, you can swing if you know how to play it right.
Oh yeah.
And so it has to have a feel. It can't be robotic. And one of the constant criticisms that I have that I'm wrong about is that things like electronically produced music can become robotic. And the reason that producers are great is because they make it not feel that way.
Yes.
But the whole thing with rock and roll is you have to have that element to it. And you have to also have the respect of the history for it, to know that it comes from Western swing, to know that it comes from original R&B, to know that it comes from boogie woogie, and to know that it comes from gospel. Those are the things that all come together and create, this violent, beautiful, dangerous thing called rock and roll.
Bam.
And that's why you need to have the whole thing. And that's why the people in the know always say it full. Black Sabbath didn't sell their soul for rock. They sold their soul for rock and roll. That's the way it works.
Right, exactly. And they were playing the blues anyways. In the beginning, right?
100%.
So
even later on, they're a blues band. They're a fantastic blues band.
Right, in the beginning they were a blues band. And it's the same thing. But I think I'm starting to get a picture of what and why people should work with you. Here's a plug just for you. You haven't so it's exactly what you talked about. The problem we've had in the last 10 years is technology has gotten better and better. It's made it easier, which is fine, but it's started to dilute the rawness of that clean sound that we talked about in the beginning, that straight up Led Zeppelin bassy bass thump of the drum, the skin. We know as a percussionist what the skin's supposed to sound like. And, it's unfortunate, but it's gotten so good you can almost not tell. But if you're lucky enough, you'll have a producer like Chris Mariscal, and he'll make it sound like it used to, because he has an appreciation for what it used to sound like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The clean guitar sound before they had pedals, the drums, the way they sounded, and the simplicity of the art. We don't like to say true musicians anymore, because I love DJs, I love electronica, I love that stuff. But they used to argue that, like, well, it's not true. Like, I play instruments, but there's something to somebody who sits with the guitar and works on his craft 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's something to a percussionist who works on his rudiments every single day, 6 hours a day. There's something to a Latin percussionist who plays conga, bongo, timbal, and all the different things. There's something to a horn player who blows his lips out trying to freaking impress the crowd with these amazing Miles Davis type sounds. There's something to that musician, and I hope we don't lose that in this AI technology.
Absolutely. And you can do stuff that is electronic and quantized and metronomed and stuff that has soul and has feel and stuff like that. If Prince put out a ridiculous amount of material, and so I don't understand why the musical originality is not there. I mean, I know why. It's business decisions. It has nothing to do with the artist itself. It has everything to do with, kind of like we talked about earlier,
what sells.
Talent is not success. Yeah. If you want to monetize your art, then you have to be prepared to make sacrifices with it, because its function is now monetization. Its function is not getting what's inside your head out so other people can experience it. We romanticize it as that, and we assume that because we put something out there that's amazing, that success is just going to come and that people are going to find us and be amazing. And that's not really how it works.
Do you think
it's about giving yourself as many chances?
Do you think that? What do you think about this? Oftentimes, especially when it comes to like jazz or a small jazz group, oftentimes what you're just saying is musicians are like, gosh, damn, that's bad. You go see that, like, you're, God, wow. But you will not see that guy on TV. You will not see that guy on a record. It doesn't sell, right? Am I hearing you right? Like, it's once it becomes monetization, it may not be just because you're the greatest musician in the world. It may just not sell because it's not songworthy, or it's not, it's not coded in a commercially sounding sonogram of music. It's because you've heard enough bands, like you've heard bands where you're like, those old guys should be like on the cover of the Guitar magazine if it's still around, but on the biggest album, but they are not. They're playing at this bar called PJ's down the street at 12 midnight, and it's only you and four other guys listening to. Then you're like, wow. Does that happen to you a lot?
Yeah, and it's even leaking into live band stuff. Unfortunately, you're seeing more bands that play their stuff to backing tracks. They'll have, a metronome in their ear, and they've got their stuff timed out. And I don't want to knock that, because there's times and places for it where it works out great. The Who did that in the early 70s, and it worked out amazing. But when that becomes most of the show, I won't say who it was. There was a very, 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 very big band that came through and played Cal Poly, the college up here. And we heard some of their I knew the sound guy, and he had told me about some of the backing tracks of what it was. And he's like, you know what killed it for me? And I said, no, what? Before every song, you hear a boop, 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 boop.
Oh,
3, 2,
the
1, let's rock. It wasn't just a metronome. It was 3, 2, 1, let's rock. And it was a little bit, it's just, it makes it this ritual by rote that you go through instead of an experience that you're having on stage and with an audience. A band has to be a band. They have to be just a little bit dangerous, if that makes sense. Yeah. And if you're going to record that band, your recording should sound like that band. That's the old Steve Albini thing. A band must sound like what it sounds like. Otherwise, you're creating something else, which might be good, but it's not indicative of what it is. And that's part of what made Shelby's album both a challenge and fun, is that there was no band that existed. There was no sound. It's kind of creating this fictitiously from scratch. I kind of did the same thing on that single that I'd sent you called Nadine. That's a bit more rock and roll and stuff, but that was me kind of creating this fictitious band in my mind. How are they going to play together? What's it going to sound like? Who is the centerpiece of that band? It's the bass player is the centerpiece of that band that doesn't really exist. The guitarist does interesting stuff, but they don't do anything super flashy. And the keyboards are there to be the catchy hook.
So is this all you on Nadine? Mm-hmm. Let's listen. Let's listen to Nadine right now from Chris Mariscal.
But you're always good to me. I don't always get your window. At the post office, Nadine, do you know you make me melt whenever you call me sweet? Now I know it's never a good time to let those feelings start. I don't know you, I might love you, so it's best we don't find out. 'Cause every time that I've been there before, it tells me you might like me, but you will hate me. So it's best we don't find out. 'Cause every time that I've been there, I end up right back here.
Awesome. There you go. Nadine from Chris Mariscal, the producer. In this, I imagine this is all you, even the singing? Wow, incredible. Weezer-esque, a little more on the poppy side?
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Weezer, Cars. Nadine is an example of why a lot of kids out in California get it, so it might not seem weird if you're in California. Kids should get some kind of iPad or MacBook or something because they all come with GarageBand. It's not hard to do that.
But you need to get like a CPU with like 90,000 bits. You need to like grab a duct tape and stick it to the other computer and do a fiber wire to you. It takes up a lot of memory though, doesn't it?
I've been digital recording for 20 years. If you overdo it, then yeah, you can overload your stuff.
Wow.
And I have, and you just kind of start over. But kind of like we were talking about earlier, so many people treat the modern technology as something that has to be used. It becomes this is the normal way to do things, so we're going to do it this normal way. And then it becomes the crutch of what you do. Instead of recording music is very simple. It honestly is. The recording part is easy. It's about arranging the sounds and getting the right mix and everything. And
easy for you, I think.
Well, I think that's fair to say. What I mean is that I think that a lot of producers make it harder on themselves than they have to.
Sure.
Because they think that having that level of control over that one frequency on that one drum is going to make the sound. And realistically, it's going to make it sound like you cut it up on purpose. Ooh. As opposed to you fit things together and it becomes this cohesive painting. I don't know if you've ever watched Bob Ross and The Joy of Painting or things like that. Oh,
of course.
But one of the things,
many times.
So one of the things, yeah.
Now we're going to make a tree.
One of the things that always
sometimes it can be fluffy. And then it's going to have a flower. And then it says, we're going to put some water right here. And then we have a little bit, how about a bird? How about a little bird in the corner? Oh, sorry. I love Bob Ross.
Yeah. No, it's good. So early ASMR. But one of the things that people forget is when you paint like Bob Ross, you have to paint the whole canvas white first. You don't just start on a blank canvas. And so you can't see it because it's white. But the reason you do that is because everything's going to blend in with it. You're not just putting red paint on there. You're putting red paint on top of white paint, and then you're dragging it and you're stretching it and you're creating shades of pink in between. And you're creating little flecks of red that leave a taste of what it was, but you're also flavoring other things with what it is. And so it's supposed to all have that kind of melt together feel. And the amount of control that a lot of producers insist on having over every single aspect of every single recording prevents them from getting that feel and letting things work together. And it becomes just, well, this should work together and this should work together on paper. And then it comes together and you have a very robotic sounding song that, in my opinion, is often beneath the talent that is tied to it. And it becomes about, what the producers told to do for this. And I mean, I don't mean to begrudge anyone their success at all. But for anyone that wants to read into it, someone like Kesha, who is actually a brilliant person, a very talented songwriter, but she didn't have control over her image or over her music. And she became part of that machine for that production style.
Right. That's the flip side of the coin, right? We've talked about for most of this show is the producer augmenting that musician. But then there's the opposite side, and I know what you're talking about, where the producer takes complete control of the sound, and then really it's just him living through that artist as opposed to making that artist. A good musician, by the way, is anybody who ever played in a band, is always trying to make everybody else feel better by holding their part. The same thing for the producer. A good producer is holding everything, putting everything, painting the picture like you're talking about for the artist. The flip side of that, the dark side of that, is the P. Diddy, is the other people that try to literally control the person and live through the person. And that's a whole nightmare, right?
It is. And it's very sad that something, art is never guaranteed to be appropriate or anything like that. I don't want to get into that. But art still is pure. And when it becomes a tool in someone else's subversive ways, then it cheapens the whole thing. I mean, it becomes about, what that person's trying to accomplish for themselves, whether that be success or they need the validation of their stuff put out there. Don't get me wrong. There's stuff that I noodle on and I'm proud of all over Shelby's album, but every single thing in it is designed to frame Shelby because it's Shelby Nite's album. It's not Christopher Mariscal's album. Christopher Mariscal played a bunch of stuff on it, but it's not Christopher Mariscal's name going on that album. And that's part of why the process was what it was. And I'm so grateful for it. Even though I played everything, it was still very collaborative. I'm going to send her this. Tell me what you like about this. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what I can add. Tell me what I can take away. And her lack of experience, I don't know if for lack of options, led her to trust me in doing that. And I'm grateful that she did. And I hope that I was a good steward of that. But everything is about trying to make the singer look good. Even in an album that isn't strictly about the singer, the Helone Station album, that is a guitar album through and through. It's got some kicky in the butt drums. It's got some super thumping bass. And it's got some fantastic vocals. Brad's an amazing singer.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a guitar album, and the stuff showcases the guitars. The opening track, "Kept My Soul," is a love letter to guitars in general. Track 4, "Low Rent," it's a love letter to fuzz pedals. It's all a guitar nerd album.
That is interesting.
But at the same time, we wanted it to be, catchy. We wanted it to be danceable. We wanted it to be something that people would remember and people would feel. And hopefully we did that. We did get runner-up for an award for it. And so that was nice and validating.
Really? What award was that?
There's a local paper up here called the New Times. It's like the free arts paper.
Nice.
And they're very big in the area. And so they have a big music awards show every year. And
holy moly,
so in 2022, yeah, in 2022, the opening track to the album, we had released it as a single. It's called "Kept My Soul." We got runner-up for Best Country Song. And then last year we submitted the whole album and got runner-up for Best Album.
Holy moly.
And so it covers 2 counties. It covers Santa Barbara, or northern Santa Barbara County, and San Luis Obispo County, which is where Pismo Beach is.
Crazy. That's amazing, dude. Well, Shelby told me you would be totally humbled and the way you do things, and I get it now, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you the past over an hour. That's all I got, unless you want to tell a motorcycle story.
I have one thing that I got to plug if I can.
Please.
If any of you guys are out on the West Coast and you happen to pass, through around Santa Barbara and a little Danish village, Solvang, I'm playing bass for a group called PCPA, the Pacific Conservatory for the Performing Arts. They are a fantastic teaching theater. They have a 2-year program for students to be actors, to be stage techs, to do all kinds of theater-based jobs.
You're playing bass?
And I am. We're doing Little Shop of Horrors. It's absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
It's some of my favorite songs of all time, some of my favorite bass parts of all time. It's going to be, I believe, a 20-show run in Solvang starting next week.
Is it the whole play? Or are they doing the play itself?
The whole play.
Wow.
Props, everything. We got giant plants that eat people.
So you're in the pit?
I have costume. Yeah. We actually didn't really have a pit. I was kind of like out among, they set it up as a skid row. And so you're like among the garbage cans and stuff. And so the bums walk around us and we're kind of there along the way. But I have costumes and had to show up to technical rehearsals and learn what a Vundel probe is. And so if you guys are in Solvang, wonderful little town.
What's the date of that?
Little Shop of Horrors. It starts next Thursday, I want to say.
Ramon Works. My friend Ramon's going to be out there. I'm going to tell him to go to that show. Ramon Works. Make sure you follow Ramon Works channel on Twitch. I'm going to send him over there. It starts next Thursday?
Yeah, I think so. Have him hit me up. I'll get him a break on tickets.
Cool. Hell yeah. I'll send you a DM. The Performance Conservatory?
So the Pacific Conservatory for the Performing Arts. We just call it PCPA.
PCPA up there in Solvang. If you know what that is, make sure you get to the show. This is going to be an awesome show. We're talking about Little Shop of Horrors, Broadway, off-Broadway musical. It's going to be in Solvang, ladies and gentlemen. And my man Chris is going to be playing in the Skid Row pit right there. And he's got going to be his costume playing bass the whole time. Any other shows coming up, Chris?
I've got one on Wednesday that's going to be a small little deal up in San Luis Obispo. Nothing really major on the horizon. We talked about our days being crazy. My boring day job is I own a small insurance brokerage. It's just me. And that whole world is crazy. So I haven't really done a lot of gigging over the last 9 months. And that's part of why I did Shelby's project. I really needed to do something musical. I needed to do something that got it out. And I needed to do something that was a challenge and that wasn't, just telling people why insurance was going up every day.
Exactly. Holy moly. Dude,
everyone can understand that it's happening. They just can't understand it's happening to them. That's all.
That's dude. Yeah, the day job is kicking my butt too, which is good. There's work. But man, sometimes when I was excited to see you. I was excited for this interview, to be meeting you, number one, to hear everything that we heard tonight. It couldn't have been better than I dreamed of. So thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Ray. I was looking forward to this all day. This is like the thing that I've been like watching the clock and stuff. I can do something tonight. I've had a blast. Anytime you want to have me back, please. I'd love to do it. Anytime I can do anything for you, please don't hesitate to hit me up. It would be my honor.
I'll hit you up on that.
And you guys, please,
dude,
please check out Shelby Nite.
I think what's crazy is I love the way that you and me talk about albums. So can you imagine if we sat here and talked about the Led Zeppelin 3 album or the Wall album, Pink Floyd?
Yeah.
So I think we should think about that.
There's an album you guys want to hear us pick apart. Yeah, there's an album you guys want to hear us pick apart.
Put it in the chat.
Hit that subscribe button and let us know.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out California Dope Fiend by Shelby Nite. Make sure you check out my single Nadine by Chris Mariscal.
Boom.
Make sure you check out Y'all or Nothing by the Holon Station Band, JOLON. And make sure you tell people that you love them. Remember that everyone's a financial genius when it comes to someone else's money. And I love you guys.
Just a little insurance piece there at the end. I love that. Fantastic, Chris. Thank you so much. Juice Gang, thank you so much for listening. You guys, we're going to be here on Thursday night at 7 o'clock with KYFMS Studios. They're a movie-making team. They make movies here locally in Whittier, which is going to be awesome. Make sure you join us, same bad channel, same bad time, 7 o'clock on Thursday, twitch.tv/Raise Flaves. Juice Gang, stay thirsty, not dangerous, my friends. Have a great one.